Dearest listeners, close your eyes and let your soul drift to a distant time, where golden barley fields glow under moonlight, and the wind softly sings through the thatched roofs of a medieval village. Would you like to step into the life of a peasant, where every drop of sweat on the field is a small dream, woven with simple joys and daily cares? Join me in exploring the journey of Edric, an ordinary man living beneath stars and skies, where each day is a tale of perseverance and hope. Under a twinkling sky, the story begins, ready to lull you into a world of hearth smoke, church bells, and endless dreams. Hello, dear friends. I'm truly honored to welcome you to today's tale, where the medieval fields whisper the story of Edric, a humble peasant with dreams as vast as the stars above. Whether you're listening to unwind after a long day, delve into the past, or drift to sleep with the breath of history, I hope this story embraces your heart. Where are you listening from? A quiet corner bathed in soft light or a cozy home warmed by a fire? What hour is it in your world? Drop a comment below to share a glimpse of your setting and how Edric's journey feels to you. I'm eager to hear your thoughts, under which sky you linger, in this very moment. Now, let the wind and stars guide us into this timeless tale. Edric awoke before dawn, stars still shimmering above his thatched roof. His wooden home in Thornwick village, modest yet warm, hummed with the steady breaths of his wife, Aelith, and children, Godric and Winflade. Stepping outside, the crisp April air bit his skin. Misty hills loomed in the distance, like a dream half remembered. Clutching a hoe, Edric trudged to the newly sown barley field, silently praying for a bountiful harvest. Church bells tolled, heralding the day. The wind carried the scent of damp earth, whispering hope. He tilled the soil, sweat beading, thoughts on the coming Easter. As the sun rose, golden light spilled over the fields, and Edric smiled. That night, by the hearth, he spun tales of nights for his children, firelight dancing like stars. Sleep came, gentle as a breeze, lulling him into dreams of ripened fields. Each day, Edric rose early, shouldering a wooden yoke to lead oxen across the fields. The Lord's vast lands demanded half his labor, the rest saved for his family's small plot. The heavy, wet soil yielded slowly, but Edric's hands were patient, each stroke a promise to Aelith for a full winter larder. Wind rustled through, carrying sparrow songs, like an ancient melody. At noon, he rested under an oak, chewing dry barley bread and sipping thin ale from a leather flask. Other peasants chatted, their laughter blending with the breeze. By dusk, Edric checked the seeds, fretting over rain. At night, he mended fishing nets by candlelight, Aelith weaving beside him. The wind sighed through the door, singing of labor. Sleep came, soft as stars, cradling him in dreams of a thriving harvest. The feast of St. Cuthbert brought Thornwick to life. Edric and his family donned their finest woolens, gathering at the square where cloth banners fluttered. Lyre and drum music filled the air, children scampering with glee. Edric joined a tug-of-war, his strength earning cheers. Aelith sold honey cakes, their sweet scent drifting. Under sunlight, the wind bore wildflower fragrance, like a spring dream. At night, villagers circled a bonfire, sharing tales of dragons and saints. Edric danced with Aelith, firelight glowing in her eyes. Late, they returned home, children asleep on their shoulders. The wind sang over the fields, quiet and content. Sleep came, tender as starlight, drawing Edric into dreams of endless joy. Each season, Edric hauled barley and hens to the Lord's castle to pay taxes. The muddy path chilled him through his tattered cloak, wind biting. At the gate, the steward's stern gaze weighed his offering. Edric stood tall, heart heavy with the scant harvest left for his family. The Lord, a rarely seen knight, demanded extra days to repair a bridge. Edric nodded, knowing refusal wasn't an option. On his way back, he paused by a stream, stars mirrored in its flow, pondering a dream of freedom. That night, Aelith comforted him, her hand warm as a hearth. The wind slipped through the thatch, carrying faint hope. Sleep came, gentle as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of a lighter burden. On Sundays, Edric led his family to the gray stone church, where the priest spoke of heaven and sin. Hymns echoed, candlelight flickering like stars. Kneeling, Edric prayed for health and crops, his heart warmed by faith. After Mass, villagers lingered, swapping news of the harvest. The wind carried incense, like a whisper from the divine. Aelith offered the priest a loaf, receiving a blessing. Edric watched his children play by the graveyard, thinking of ancestors beneath the earth. At night, he shared Bible stories with Godric, firelight leaping. The wind hummed outside, serene. Sleep came, soft as stars, lulling him into dreams of a verdant paradise. Summer bathed Thornwick in golden light. Edric labored under scorching sun, sweat falling like rain. He reaped barley with a sickle, singing folk tunes, his voice mingling with the breeze. Aelith and Winflade brought cool water, their smiles bright as wildflowers. At noon, the family rested in shade, sharing bread and cheese. The wind bore the scent of cut hay, like a dream of freedom. By afternoon, Edric mended fences to guard sheep from wolves. At night, the village held a harvest feast, dancing around a fire. Edric held Aelith close, heart full. The wind sang through the barley, vibrant. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, drawing him into dreams of abundance. One autumn night, bleating sheep roused Edric. Grabbing a staff, he rushed to the pen, spotting a wolf's shadow. Cold wind carried the scent of danger. Heart pounding, Edric chased it off, guarding his precious flock. At dawn, he rallied villagers to set traps and patrol. Aelith worried, but he reassured her, eyes steadfast. The wind swept the fields, a warning song. At night, Edric kept watch, stars cold and bright. A wolf fell to a trap, and the village cheered. Edric returned, embracing his sleeping children. The wind sang softly, safe. Sleep came, tender as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of security. In October, Edric hauled barley and wool to the nearby town's market. The road bustled with merchants, carts, and noise. He bartered for salt, a knife, and a ribbon for Aelith. The wind carried scents of baked bread and spices, like a distant dream. Edric overheard tales of far-off wars, unease stirring. A minstrel sang of knights, captivating Godric. By dusk, Edric returned, gifts in hand. At night, Aelith tied the ribbon, beaming. The wind rustled through the thatch, cheerful. Sleep came, soft as stars, lulling him into dreams of journeys. Winter cloaked Thornwick in frost. Edric patched the roof, mended cloaks, and chopped firewood. Their meager stores prompted Aelith to cook barley porridge with dried onions. Wind howled through cracks, icy as death's whisper. Edric told ancient tales to his children, firelight dancing. Villagers gathered, sharing food and warmth. Aelith sewed a new tunic for Winflade, her needle glinting. At night, Edric held his family, grateful. The wind sang fiercely outside. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, drawing him into dreams of a warm spring. Christmas brought light to Thornwick. Edric and his family attended church, singing carols under candlelight. Cold wind blew, but his heart warmed. Villagers feasted, sharing bread and ale. Edric carved a wooden horse for Godric, and Aelith gave Winflade a shawl. Laughter filled the night. A bonfire blazed, like stars fallen to earth. Edric gazed at his family, hope swelling. The wind sang gently, bearing blessings. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of eternal joy. Spring arrived with relentless rain, turning Thornwick's fields into a sea of mud. Edric woke to the patter of drops on his thatched roof, the wind howling like a mournful spirit. His barley seeds, newly sown, risked washing away. Slipping on his cloak, he trudged through the mire, digging trenches to divert water. The cold seeped into his bones, but he worked tirelessly, each shovelful a prayer for survival. Aelith joined him, her skirts heavy with mud, her face etched with worry yet resolute. At noon, they rested by the swollen stream, sharing soggy bread. The wind carried the scent of wet earth, a faint promise beneath the storm. Villagers gathered, helping neighbors reinforce homes. By dusk, the rain eased, stars peeking through clouds like timid hopes. That night, Edric held Aelith close, their children asleep by the hearth. The wind sang softly, a lullaby of endurance. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, drawing him into dreams of fields reborn under a kind sun. The floods receded, leaving Thornwick's homes battered. Edric surveyed his cottage, its wattle walls sagging, thatch leaking. With axe in hand, he ventured to the woodland, wind rustling through budding trees, whispering of renewal. He felled branches, hauling them back under a sky where stars began to gleam. Godric, now 8, trailed him, eager to help. Together, they patched the roof, Edric teaching his son to weave straw tightly. Aelith prepared clay to seal cracks, her hands steady as earth itself. The wind bore the scent of fresh wood, like a dream of stability. Villagers swapped timber and tools, their chatter a chorus of resilience. By evening, the cottage stood firm, a small victory. Edric carved a wooden spoon for Winflade, her giggle bright as starlight. At night, the family sat by the fire warm and safe. The wind hummed through the mended walls, content. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of a steadfast home. With the fields drying, Edric returned to sowing, his sack of barley seeds a treasure. Dawn painted the hills gold, the wind carrying lark songs, like a melody of hope. He scattered seeds in furrows, each one a wish for abundance. Godric followed, mimicking his father's careful steps, his small hands clutching a stick to cover the earth. Aelith brought water, her smile a beacon in the morning mist. The wind swirled gently, as if blessing the soil. Other peasants worked nearby, their voices weaving tales of past harvests. At noon, Edric rested, chewing bread under a willow, its branches swaying like dreams. By dusk, the field was sown, a patchwork of promise. That night, Edric told Godric of the ancient spirits said to guard crops. The wind sighed through the shutters, serene. Sleep came, tender as stars, lulling him into dreams of golden barley swaying under a summer sky. Edric saw Godric's curiosity bloom, the boy eager to learn the ways of the field. One crisp morning, he handed his son a small plow, the wind whispering through budding oats, like a song of legacy. Edric guided Godric's hands, showing him how to steer the ox, the earth yielding beneath their work. The boy stumbled but grinned, his eyes bright as stars. Aelith watched from the field's edge, Winflade clinging to her skirts. The wind carried the scent of turned soil, a dream of continuity. Edric praised Godric's efforts, recalling his own father's lessons. At noon, they rested, sharing ale and stories of harvests past. By evening, Godric's plow lines were crooked but earnest. That night, Edric carved a tiny ox for his son, firelight dancing. The wind sang outside, proud and gentle. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, drawing Edric into dreams of his son's future under Thornwick skies. Spring's warmth brought a wedding to Thornwick, uniting young Edith and Alric. Edric and his family joined the festivities, the village square adorned with wildflowers, wind carrying their sweet scent, like a dream of love. Aelith wore her best kirtle, Winflade twirling in a new ribbon. Godric chased friends, laughter echoing. Edric helped raise a maypole, its ribbons fluttering under a starry dusk. The priest blessed the couple in the church, candlelight glowing like hope. At the feast, villagers shared bread, cheese, and ale, music from a fiddle lifting spirits. Edric danced with Aelith, her laughter warm as a hearth. The wind swirled through the square, joyful. Late, the family returned home, children drowsy. Edric kissed Aelith, grateful for their bond. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, lulling him into dreams of eternal unions beneath medieval skies. As spring faded, a fever crept into Thornwick, shadowing the village. Edric noticed neighbors coughing, their faces pale. The wind carried a chill, like a warning whispered by stars. Winflade woke feverish, her small body trembling. Aelith brewed nettle tea, her eyes anxious yet steady, while Edric prayed by the hearth. He ventured to the wise woman's hut, exchanging eggs for herbs, the wind rustling through ancient oaks, a murmur of fear. Back home, he sat by Winflade, telling tales of saints to soothe her. Villagers shared remedies, their unity a fragile light. By week's end, Winflade's fever broke, her smile faint but radiant. Edric held her close, relief flooding him. The wind sang softly through the fields, hopeful. Sleep came, tender as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of health restored under a gentle sky. The Lord Steward arrived, demanding labor for a new mill. Edric joined villagers hauling stones, the wind whipping across the riverbank, like a sigh of duty. His back ached, but he worked, each stone a step toward appeasing the Lord. Godric tagged along, carrying smaller rocks, his chatter bright as stars. Aelith sent bread, her love woven into each loaf. The wind bore the scent of river moss, a dream of rest. At dusk, Edric's hands were blistered, but the mill's foundation stood. The steward nodded, a rare approval. That night, Edric massaged his shoulders, Aelith's touch soothing. He told Godric of the mill's promise for easier grinding. The wind hummed through the thatch, steadfast. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling him into dreams of a village eased by shared toil. Early summer brought hope, Thornwick's fields ripening. Edric walked his barley rows, stalks tall and green, the wind rustling through, like a song of plenty. He sharpened his sickle, teaching Godric to wield a smaller one. Aelith and Winflade gathered herbs, their laughter drifting. The wind carried the scent of warm earth, a dream of abundance. Villagers prepared barns, their voices hopeful. At noon, Edric rested under a hedge, sharing cheese with his family. By dusk, he tested a stalk, its grains firm. That night, he told tales of bountiful harvests, firelight flickering like stars. The wind sang through the fields, vibrant. Sleep came, gentle as moonlight, drawing him into dreams of golden sheaves piled high under a summer sky. The village held a summer fair, with a wrestling match drawing crowds. Edric entered, muscles honed by years of toil, the wind swirling through the square, like a cheer of strength. Godric watched wide-eyed, Aelith clapping. Edric faced Alric, their grunts echoing as they grappled. The wind bore the scent of trampled grass, a dream of triumph. Edric pinned his friend, earning roars and a small purse of coins. He gifted Aelith a copper brooch, her smile radiant as stars. At the fair, they feasted on roasted mutton, music filling the air. That night, Edric told Godric of ancient heroes. The wind hummed through the village, proud. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling him into dreams of victory beneath a festive sky. As summer peaked, Aelith grew heavy with child. Edric worked gently, mindful of her, the wind whispering through the fields, like a cradle song. One night, her pains began, and the village midwife arrived. Edric waited outside, stars bright above, praying. The wind carried Aelith's cries, then a baby's wail. He entered, finding Aelith cradling a son, named Leofric. Winflade and Godric peered, awed. The wind sang through the thatch, joyful. Edric held Leofric, his heart swelling. That night, he thanked the stars by the hearth, firelight dancing. Sleep came, tender as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of a growing family under Thornwick's eternal skies. Summer's end brought Thornwick's fields to glorious ripeness, barley stalks heavy with grain. Edric rose at dawn, sickle gleaming, the wind rustling through the crops like a song of fulfillment. He reaped alongside Godric, now strong enough to swing a sickle, their rhythm steady as a heartbeat. Aelith and Winflade gathered sheaves, Leofric gurgling in a sling on Aelith's back. The wind carried the scent of cut stalks, a dream of plenty. Villagers worked in harmony, their laughter echoing across the fields. At noon, Edric shared bread and ale under a hawthorn, his family's faces flushed with pride. By dusk, the barn brimmed with golden sheaves, a fortress against winter. That night, Edric told Godric of harvests that fed kings, firelight dancing like stars. The wind sang through the village, abundant and joyful. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, lulling him into dreams of barns overflowing under a generous sky. With the harvest secured, Edric turned to building a shed for tools and firewood. He ventured to the forest at dawn, axe in hand, the wind whispering through ancient pines, like a promise of shelter. Godric carried smaller branches, eager to learn. Edric felled a young ash, its wood strong yet pliable, stars fading above. Back in Thornwick, he and Alric raised the frame, pegging beams with practiced hands. Aelith wove straw for the roof, Winflade handing her bundles. The wind bore the scent of fresh timber, a dream of preparedness. Villagers lent tools, their chatter weaving community. By evening, the shed stood sturdy, a small triumph. Edric gifted Winflade a carved bird, her laughter bright as starlight. That night, the family sat by the hearth, warm with accomplishment. The wind hummed through the new shed, steadfast. Sleep came, gentle as stars, guiding Edric into dreams of a village ready for winter. Autumn painted Thornwick's hills in russet and gold, but a chill wind hinted at winter's approach. Edric slaughtered a pig, the task somber yet vital, the wind carrying the scent of blood, like a whisper of survival. Aelith salted the meat, her hands deft, while Godric watched, learning life cycles. Winflade fed Leofric, his coos a spark of warmth. The wind swirled through bare trees, a dream of endurance. Edric stored apples and turnips in the cellar, checking their dwindling grain. Villagers bartered preserves, their faces etched with quiet resolve. At dusk, Edric repaired a cartwheel, his breath misting in the cold. That night, he told tales of autumn spirits, firelight flickering. The wind howled outside, restless but kind. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, lulling him into dreams of a larder full under a frost-kissed sky. A peddler brought whispers of war to Thornwick, tales of barons clashing in the north. Edric listened by the tavern, the wind rustling through thatch, like a murmur of unease. He returned home, heart heavy, fearing the Lord's call to arms. Aelith met his gaze, her calm a steady star. Godric asked about nights, his eyes wide, but Edric spoke of peace. The wind carried the scent of damp leaves, a dream of safety. Edric sharpened his tools, preparing for any burden. Villagers gathered, debating the news, their voices low. At dusk, he checked the sheep, praying for quiet days. That night, Aelith sang to Leofric, her voice soothing as starlight. Edric held her, grateful for their haven. The wind sang through the fields, wary yet hopeful. Sleep came, gentle as stars, guiding him into dreams of a village untouched by strife. Thornwick celebrated the harvest with a grand feast, the square alive with music and light. Edric helped roast a communal ox, the wind carrying savory scents, like a dream of plenty. Aelith baked honeyed bread, Winflade scattering herbs. Godric danced with friends, his laughter bright as stars. The village minstrel played a lute, tales of heroes weaving through the air. Edric shared ale with Alric, toasting their labor. The wind swirled through garlands, festive and warm. The priest blessed the feast, candlelight glowing in the church. At dusk, Edric danced with Aelith, her smile a hearth's warmth. Late, the family returned, Leofric asleep in Aelith's arms. The wind sang through the village, joyful. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, lulling Edric into dreams of feasts under eternal skies. Winter's edge softened as Leofric, now months old, gifted his first smile. Edric watched, heart swelling, the wind whispering through the cottage, like a song of new beginnings. Aelith cradled the babe, her eyes bright as stars. Godric and Winflade giggled, vying to amuse their brother. Edric carved a rattle, its jingle echoing in the quiet. The wind bore the scent of wood smoke, a dream of family. He worked shorter days, tending sheep, saving strength for home. Villagers marveled at Leofric, sharing tales of their own children. At dusk, Edric mended a cloak, Aelith weaving beside him. That night, he told Godric of winter spirits who blessed babes. The wind hummed through the thatch, tender. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his children's laughter under a gentle sky. Aelith's skill at weaving grew, her loom humming in the cottage. Edric admired her work, the wind rustling through drying wool, like a whisper of artistry. She taught Winflade to spin, their hands moving in rhythm, stars peeking through the window. Godric hauled water, proud to aid. Edric bartered grain for dye, dreaming of Aelith's cloth at market. The wind carried the scent of lanolin, a dream of creation. Villagers praised her shawls, trading eggs for scraps. At dusk, Edric helped stretch wool, his hands clumsy but eager. That night, Aelith draped a new scarf over Winflade, her smile radiant. Edric told tales of weaver saints, firelight dancing. The wind sang through the loom, proud. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, lulling him into dreams of a family woven tight under starry skies. Winter tightened its grip, frost glazing Thornwick's fields. Edric chopped firewood, breath clouding, the wind howling like a spirit of want. Aelith rationed their stores, cooking thin porridge. Godric and Winflade huddled by the hearth. Leofric nestled close. The wind bore the scent of ice, a dream of survival. Edric checked traps, finding a hare to bolster their meal. Villagers shared coals, their faces drawn but kind. At dusk he repaired boots, fingers stiff. That night, he told tales of spring's return, firelight flickering like hope. Aelith sang softly, her voice a star in the cold. The wind raged outside, fierce yet fleeting. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, guiding Edric into dreams of warmth beneath a thawing sky. A neighbor, old Senric, fell ill, his cough echoing through Thornwick. Edric visited, bringing broth, the wind moaning through bare trees, like a dirge of loss. Senric's eyes dimmed, his tales of youth faint. Aelith prayed, Winflade clutching her hand. The wind carried the scent of damp straw, a dream of farewell. Edric helped dig a grave, the earth hard as grief. At the funeral, the priest's words mingled with sobs, stars cold above. Villagers shared memories, their voices a fragile warmth. That night, Edric held his family, grateful for their breath. He told Godric of life cycles, firelight steady. The wind sang through the village, mournful yet kind. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, lulling him into dreams of Senric's soul under eternal skies. As winter waned, a hint of spring stirred Thornwick. Edric noticed buds on the willow, the wind softening, like a whisper of renewal. He sowed early peas, Godric scattering seeds with care. Aelith hummed, Leofric babbling in her arms. Winflade wove a tiny basket, her skill growing. The wind bore the scent of thawing earth, a dream of rebirth. Villagers repaired plows, their chatter hopeful. At dusk, Edric checked the lambs, their bleats a promise. That night, he told tales of spring goddesses, firelight dancing like stars. Aelith smiled, her hand warm in his. The wind sang through the fields, gentle and bright. Sleep came, tender as starlight, guiding Edric into dreams of green fields under a rising sun. The Lord demanded a stone wall to fortify his manor, summoning Thornwick's men. Edric joined at dawn, hauling rocks from the quarry, the wind whistling through crags, like a chant of duty. His shoulders ached, each stone a weight of obligation. Godric carried smaller stones, his young face set with determination. Aelith sent barley cakes, her love baked into each bite. The wind bore the scent of dust, a dream of loyalty. Villagers toiled together, their grunts mingling with the breeze. The steward barked orders, his whip idle but threatening. By dusk, the wall rose, a gray sentinel. Edric's hands bled, but he stood proud. That night, he told Godric of ancient forts, firelight flickering like stars. Aelith bandaged his palms, her touch a balm. The wind hummed through the cottage, steadfast. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of a village shielded under a quiet sky. Autumn's tax collection loomed, heavier than ever. Edric gathered half his barley and 2 hens, the wind sighing through bare fields, like a whisper of sacrifice. The muddy path to the Lord's castle chilled his bones, his cloak thin against the breeze. At the gate, the steward's cold eyes tallied his offering, demanding a piglet Edric could ill spare. Heart sinking, he complied, thinking of Aelith's lean winter meals. The wind carried the scent of smoke, a dream of endurance. On his return, he paused by the church, stars gleaming above, praying for strength. Villagers whispered of unrest, their faces drawn. That night, Aelith held him, her warmth a star in the dark. Edric told Winflade of generous lords in tales, firelight dancing. The wind moaned through the thatch, weary but kind. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, lulling him into dreams of a lighter burden under a forgiving sky. Winter's cold brought sickness to Thornwick, and Winflade fell ill, her coughs frail in the night. Edric woke to her fevered whimpers, the wind howling outside, like a cry of fear. Aelith brewed chamomile, her hands trembling but sure, while Leofric slept unaware. Edric fetched wood to stoke the fire, keeping the chill at bay. The wind bore the scent of snow, a dream of fragility. He sought the wise woman, trading wool for feverfew, her hut dim under starlight. Villagers sent broth, their kindness a faint glow. Edric sat by Winflade, telling tales of spring flowers to ease her. By dawn, her fever eased, her eyes fluttering open. Aelith wept, relieved. The wind sang softly through the fields, hopeful. That night Edric held his daughter, grateful. Sleep came, tender as moonlight, guiding him into dreams of health beneath a gentle sky. Winflade's recovery rallied Thornwick, villagers sharing scarce resources. Edric brought firewood to a widow, the wind rustling through frosted trees, like a song of solidarity. Elric gifted Aelith a fish, his own stores thin. Godric carried water for neighbors, proud to help. Aelith baked bread for the sick, Leofric cooing at her side. The wind bore the scent of baking, a dream of community. At the church, the priest praised their charity, candlelight glowing like stars. Edric repaired a neighbor's roof, his hammer steady despite the cold. Villagers gathered by a communal fire, sharing tales of survival. That night, Edric told Godric of saints who aided the poor, firelight dancing. Aelith smiled, her hand warm in his. The wind hummed through the village, warm and kind. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of a village bound under a shared sky. Winter's long nights drew Thornwick inward, stories binding them. Edric gathered his family by the hearth, the wind moaning outside, like a whisper of ancient times. He spun tales of frost giants and kindly spirits, Godric's eyes wide, Winflade clutching her blanket. Leofric babbled, warmed by Aelith's arms. The wind bore the scent of burning oak, a dream of warmth. Villagers visited, adding their own legends, their voices a chorus against the cold. Aelith recounted her grandmother's tales, her words soft as starlight. Edric carved a wolf figure for Godric, its lines sharp in the firelight. At dusk, he checked the sheep, stars bright above. That night, the family huddled close, the hearth a glowing heart. The wind sang through the thatch, timeless and gentle. Sleep came, tender as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of stories echoing under eternal skies. Late winter brought a thaw, snow melting into Thornwick streams. Edric walked the fields, mud clinging to his boots, the wind softening, like a promise of spring. He repaired his plow, Godric sanding the wood beside him. Aelith aired blankets, Winflade singing to Leofric. The wind carried the scent of damp earth, a dream of renewal. Villagers cleared ditches, their chatter hopeful. Edric found early violets, tucking one in Aelith's hair, her laugh bright as stars. At dusk he mended a fence, the air milder. That night he told tales of spring gods, firelight flickering. Aelith leaned against him, her breath steady. The wind hummed through the fields, gentle and bright. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of green shoots under a warming sun. Spring's arrival urged Edric to sow oats, his sack heavy with seed. Dawn gilded the hills, the wind rustling through budding trees, like a song of growth. He scattered grains in furrows, Godric following, covering them with care. Aelith brought water, Leofric strapped to her back. Winflade gathered sticks for kindling, humming. The wind bore the scent of turned soil, a dream of abundance. Villagers worked nearby, their voices weaving plans for summer. At noon, Edric rested under a birch, sharing bread. By dusk, the field was sown, a canvas of hope. That night, he told Winflade of earth spirits, firelight dancing like stars. Aelith smiled, her hand in his. The wind sang through the fields, vibrant. Sleep came, gentle as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of golden oats under a summer sky. The Lord announced a hunt, demanding villagers as beaters. Edric joined, wielding a staff, the wind rustling through the forest, like a murmur of deference. Deer fled before them, the Lord's hounds bang. Godric stayed home, Aelith's prayers following Edric. The wind bore the scent of pine, a dream of safety. Edric drove game toward the Lord's arrows, his heart uneasy but dutiful. A stag fell, the Lord's cheer echoing. Villagers received scraps, a meager reward. At dusk, Edric returned, weary but unharmed. Aelith embraced him, her relief warm as starlight. That night, he told Godric of forest spirits, firelight steady. The wind hummed through the cottage, grateful. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of a huntless peace under a quiet sky. Spring blessed Thornwick's flock, a ewe birthing a lamb. Edric tended it at dawn, the wind whispering through the pen, like a song of life. The lamb wobbled, nuzzling its mother, Godric watching, awed. Aelith brought warm milk, Winflaid stroking the lamb's wool. Leofric cooed, unaware. The wind bore the scent of straw, a dream of growth. Edric built a shelter protecting the newborn. Villagers admired the lamb, sharing tales of their flocks. At dusk, he checked the pen, stars bright above. That night, he told Winflaid of shepherd saints, firelight dancing. Aelith leaned close, her smile soft. The wind sang through the fields, tender. Sleep came, gentle as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of thriving flocks under a gentle sky. Easter dawned, Thornwick's church aglow with candles. Edric led his family to mass, hymns rising, the wind rustling through open doors, like a breath of resurrection. Aelith wore a new shawl, Winflaid clutching a painted egg. Godric sang, Leofric quiet in Aelith's arms. The priest spoke of renewal, starlight filtering through windows. Villagers feasted on roasted lamb, sharing joy. Edric carved a cross for Winflaid, her smile bright. The wind bore the scent of spring blossoms, a dream of hope. At dusk, the village danced, music lifting hearts. That night, Edric told Godric of Christ's rising, firelight glowing. Aelith held him, their bond warm. The wind sang through the fields, radiant. Sleep came, soft as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of eternal light under a sacred sky. Godric, now 12, yearned to hunt, his eyes bright with ambition. Edric led him to the forest at dawn, bow in hand, the wind rustling through ancient oaks, like a whisper of courage. He taught Godric to track rabbits, pointing to broken twigs and prints. The boy's steps were clumsy but eager, his breath misting in the cool air. Aelith had packed bread, her prayers trailing them. The wind bore the scent of moss, a dream of independence. A rabbit darted, and Godric's arrow missed, but Edric clapped his shoulder, recalling his own first try. At noon, they rested by a stream, sharing tales of legendary hunters. By dusk, Godric struck a hare, his grin radiant as stars. That night, Edric roasted the catch, Aelith beaming. He told Winflaid of forest spirits, firelight dancing. The wind hummed through the cottage, proud. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his son's strength under a wild sky. Years of toil weighed on Edric, his back now stiff each dawn. He rose to till the fields, the wind sighing through barley, like a murmur of time. Each plow stroke sparked pain, but he gritted on, thinking of Godric's future. Aelith massaged his shoulders with mint oil, her touch a star in his ache. Godric took heavier tasks, his young arms steady, while Winflaid tended Leofric. The wind bore the scent of earth, a dream of perseverance. Villagers offered liniment, their own joints creaking. At noon, Edric rested under an elm, praying for strength. By dusk, the field was half-plowed, Godric's help a gift. That night, Edric told tales of enduring heroes, firelight flickering. Aelith held his hand, her warmth a balm. The wind sang through the fields, gentle but weary. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling him into dreams of rest under a kind sky. Spring's festival bloomed in Thornwick, fields dotted with daisies. Edric joined the village square, his back eased by warmth, the wind carrying laughter like a song of joy. Aelith sold woven scarves, Winflaid twirling with ribbons. Godric raced piers, Leofric clapping in Aelith's arms. Edric helped raise a bonfire, its sparks rising like stars. The wind bore the scent of roasted apples, weaving a festive dream. Villagers danced to pipes, the priest blessing their mirth. Edric spun with Aelith, her smile bright as a hearth. At noon, they shared cider and pies, voices mingling. By dusk, the square glowed with torchlight. That night, Edric told Godric of spring gods, firelight dancing. The wind hummed through the village, vibrant. Aelith leaned close, their bond warm. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of endless feasts under starry skies. The Lord claimed more village land for his fields, shrinking Edric's plot. He stood at the boundary, heart heavy, the wind rustling through his barley, like a thief's whisper. The steward marked the new line, villagers murmuring. Edric calculated losses, fearing leaner harvests. Aelith met his gaze, her resolve a steady star. Godric asked why, but Edric spoke of duty. The wind bore the scent of earth, a dream of resistance. He worked the smaller plot, each seed a defiance. At dusk, villagers met at the tavern, voices low with plans to petition. That night, Edric told Winflade of just kings, firelight flickering. Aelith held him, silent but strong. The wind moaned through the fields, restless. Sleep came, gentle as starlight, lulling him into dreams of a village enduring under a fair sky. Godric's hunting prowess grew, easing Edric's burdens. At dawn, he returned with a pheasant, the wind whistling through the meadows, like a song of pride. Edric praised him, his back spared the trek. Godric cleaned the bird, Aelith preparing a stew, Winflade tending Leofric. The wind bore the scent of feathers, a dream of growth. Villagers admired Godric's skill, trading meat for grain. Edric taught him to set snares, their hands working in tandem. At noon, they rested by the river, sharing tales of huntsmen. By dusk, Godric's snares caught a fox pelt. That night, Edric gifted him a carved arrow, firelight glowing. Aelith smiled, her son's strength alight. The wind sang through the cottage, bold. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his son's future under starry skies. Aelith took her weaving to market, her shawls prized. Edric joined, carrying baskets, the wind rustling through the town, like a song of trade. Winflade helped display, Leofric babbling. Godric sold a hare, his coins clinking. Aelith bartered for salt and thread, her smile bright as stars. The wind bore the scent of spices, a dream woven tight. Merchants praised her craft, offering silver. Edric bought a comb for Aelith, her gratitude warm. Villagers shared news, their voices lively. At dusk, the family returned, laden with goods. That night, Edric told tales of weaver queens, firelight dancing. Aelith leaned close, her hand in his. The wind hummed through the cottage, content. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling him into dreams of prosperity under a bustling sky. Summer scorched Thornwick, fields parched under a relentless sun. Edric weeded barley, sweat stinging, the wind a hot breath, like a whisper of trial. His back ached, but Godric's help lightened him. Aelith watered herbs, Winflade fanning Leofric. The wind bore the scent of dry earth, a dream of rain. Villagers prayed at church, their voices pleading. Edric dug a ditch to save crops, his hands blistered. At noon, the family rested in shade, sharing thin ale. By dusk, clouds gathered, a drop falling. That night, rain pattered, Edric telling tales of storm gods, firelight flickering. Aelith smiled, hope renewed. The wind sang through the fields, gentle again. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of green fields under a cooled sky. Thornwick's well faltered, water muddy. Edric joined villagers to dig deeper, the wind rustling through willows, like a chant of necessity. His back groaned, but Godric hauled earth, strong and sure. Aelith brought water, Winflade minding Leofric. The wind bore the scent of clay, a dream of sustenance. Villagers sang work songs, their unity a spark. By dusk, clear water flowed, cheers rising. Edric's hands shook, but pride steadied him. That night, he told Godric of river spirits, firelight glowing. Aelith bandaged his blisters, her touch soft as stars. The wind hummed through the village, refreshed. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of flowing streams under a giving sky. Winflade's weaving skill blossomed, her small hands deft on Aelith's loom. Edric watched, the wind rustling through drying cloth, like a song of legacy. Aelith guided her, their laughter bright as stars. Godric fetched wool, Leofric toddling nearby. Edric bartered grain for dye, dreaming of Winflade's future. The wind bore the scent of lanolin, a dream of craft. Villagers bought her first scarf, praising her. At dusk, Edric helped stretch wool, his pride warm. That night, he told tales of weaver maidens, firelight dancing. Aelith draped a cloth over Windflade, her smile radiant. The wind sang through the cottage, proud. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his daughter's art under starry skies. Autumn's harvest demanded all of Thornwick, barley ripe under a golden sun. Edric reaped, his back protesting, the wind rustling through stalks, like a song of labor. Godric swung a sickle, Windflade binding sheaves, Leofric playing nearby. Aelith brought ale, her strength a star. The wind bore the scent of grain, a dream of plenty. Villagers worked as one, their voices hopeful. Edric's hands cramped, but the barn filled. At dusk, he rested, grateful for his children's help. That night, he told tales of harvest gods, firelight flickering. Aelith leaned close, their bond enduring. The wind sang through the fields, abundant. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of full barns under a bountiful sky. Godric, now 16, caught the eye of Edith, Alric's daughter. Edric watched them at a harvest dance, the wind rustling through the square, like a song of new love. Godric's shy smile mirrored Edric's youth with Aelith. At dawn, he spoke with Alric, the wind whispering through barley, a dream of union. They agreed to a betrothal, planning a spring wedding. Aelith wove a cloak for Edith, Windflade helping, Leofric toddling nearby. The wind bore the scent of hay, a promise of joy. Villagers celebrated, sharing ale and songs. Edric's back ached, but his heart swelled. At dusk, he gave Godric his old knife, a token of trust. That night, he told tales of faithful lovers, firelight dancing like stars. Aelith leaned close, her eyes bright. The wind sang through the cottage, hopeful. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his son's future under a loving sky. Aelith grew frail, her breath short after weaving. Edric noticed at dawn, the wind sighing through the cottage, like a whisper of time. He urged her to rest, taking her loom tasks, his hands clumsy but loving. Windflade brewed teas, Leofric clinging to her skirts. Godric hunted, bringing meat to strengthen her. The wind bore the scent of herbs, a dream of healing. Edric sought the wise woman, trading wool for tonics, stars cold above. Villagers sent broth, their prayers a faint glow. Aelith smiled, weak but warm, her hand steady in Edric's. At dusk, he sat by her, telling tales of their youth. That night, the family huddled close, firelight flickering. The wind moaned through the thatch, gentle but heavy. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of Aelith's laughter under an eternal sky, fearing its silence. One winter night, Aelith's breath faded, her hand cold in Edric's. The wind howled outside, like a dirge of loss, stars veiled by clouds. Windflade wept, Godric stood silent, Leofric unaware. Edric held her, heart breaking, the cottage dim without her light. At dawn, he built a coffin, the wind rustling through bare oaks, a dream of farewell. Villagers helped, their faces etched with grief. The priest led a funeral, hymns rising in the church, candlelight faint as hope. Edric buried Aelith by the hill, her grave soft with snow. That night, he told the children of heaven's fields, firelight dim. The wind sang through the fields, mournful yet kind. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of Aelith's smile under a starry sky, her absence a wound beneath his ribs. Spring returned, but Edric's heart stayed winterbound. He tilled fields at dawn, the wind rustling through oats, like a whisper of Aelith's voice. His back ached, each step heavy without her. Godric hunted, Windflade wove, Leofric babbled, their lives a faint star in his dark. The wind bore the scent of earth, a dream of endurance. Villagers offered bread, their kindness softening his solitude. At dusk, Edric sat by Aelith's grave, stars bright above, speaking to her memory. Windflade joined, her hands small but warm. That night, he told tales of eternal love, firelight flickering. Godric listened, his strength a comfort. The wind hummed through the cottage, gentle but lonely. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of Aelith's touch under a quiet sky, her absence ever near. Godric wed Edith in spring, Thornwick blooming with wildflowers. Edric stood proud, the wind rustling through the square, like a song of new beginnings. Winflaid scattered petals, Leofric clapping. The priest blessed them, candlelight glowing like stars. Edric gave a carved chest, his hands trembling but sure. The wind bore the scent of blossoms, a dream of hope. Villagers feasted, music lifting hearts. Edric danced once, missing Aelith's warmth, but smiled for Godric. At dusk, the couple glowed, their love a hearth. That night, Edric told Leofric of family bonds, firelight dancing. Winflaid leaned close, her weaving Aelith's legacy. The wind sang through the fields, joyful. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his son's happiness under a festive sky. Aelith's spirit near. Winflaid, now 15, drew a suitor, young Thomas, a shepherd. Edric met him at dawn, the wind whispering through the flock, like a murmur of trust. Thomas's steady gaze eased Edric's heart. They agreed to a betrothal, Winflaid shy but radiant. Leofric played nearby, unaware. The wind bore the scent of wool, a dream of continuity. Edric gifted her Aelith's comb, tears in her eyes. Villagers toasted, their voices warm. At dusk, Edric mended a fence, his back stiff but mind light. That night, he told tales of shepherd lovers, firelight flickering. Godric shared hunting stories, a brother's pride. The wind hummed through the cottage, hopeful. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of his daughter's future under a loving sky, Aelith's blessing woven in. Edric, gray and slow, taught Godric his trade, his hands guiding the plow. At dawn, they tilled, the wind rustling through barley, like a song of legacy. Godric's strength surpassed his, each furrow straight and deep. Leofric watched, toddling, Winflaid weaving nearby. The wind bore the scent of earth, a dream of succession. Edric shared tricks of sewing, his voice soft with years. Villagers nodded, seeing Godric's skill. At noon, they rested under an oak, Edric's back eased by shade. That night, he gave Godric his old hoe, firelight glowing. Winflaid sang Aelith's lullaby, Leofric asleep. The wind sang through the fields, proud. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of his son's fields thriving under a bountiful sky, his work complete. Thornwick prospered, new homes rising as Godric's family grew. Edric walked the village, leaning on a staff, the wind rustling through thatch, like a whisper of time. Edith bore a son, Edric's grandson, named Alric. Winflaid wed Thomas, her loom busy. Leofric, now 6, herded lambs. The wind bore the scent of fresh wood, a dream of tomorrow. Edric shared tales at the tavern, his voice a village treasure. At dusk, he sat by the well, stars bright, heart full. That night, he told Leofric of Thornwick's founding, firelight dancing. Godric listened, his son asleep in his arms. The wind hummed through the village, vibrant. Sleep came, tender as starlight, lulling Edric into dreams of a thriving village under an enduring sky. Autumn's harvest called Edric once more, his hands frail but willing. He reaped barley, Godric at his side, the wind rustling through stalks, like a song of closure. His back bent, but Leofric's laughter lightened him. Winflaid brought ale, her smile Aelith's echo. The wind bore the scent of grain, a dream of completion. Villagers worked, their voices a chorus of years. Edric's sickle trembled, but the barn filled, his legacy secure. At dusk, he rested by the field, stars emerging, reflecting on Aelith and his children. That night, he told tales of harvest gods, firelight faint. Godric held his hand, strong and sure. The wind sang through the fields, gentle. Sleep came, soft as moonlight, guiding Edric into dreams of golden fields under a timeless sky. Edric's days waned, his breath shallow under winter's sky. He lay by the hearth, Godric, Winflaid, and Leofric near, the wind whispering through the cottage, like a lullaby of peace. Stars shone through the window, bright as Aelith's eyes. Edric spoke of love and toil, his voice soft, a final gift. The wind bore the scent of wood smoke, a dream of eternity. Villagers visited, their prayers a chorus. At dusk, Edric walked the fields in his mind, Aelith waiting. He smiled, hand in Godric's, and slipped away, stars guiding him. That night, Thornwick mourned, firelight dim. The wind sang through the fields, eternal and kind. Sleep came, soft as starlight, drawing Edric into dreams of Aelitha's embrace under a heavenly sky, his life a tale complete. Dear listeners, Edric's journey now fades, like a breeze slipping through Thornwick's golden fields, carrying the dreams of a humble peasant. From days of toil under the sun to nights warmed by the hearth, his life was a song of perseverance and love, shining like stars in a medieval sky. How did this tale touch you? Which moment stirred your heart? Share your thoughts in the comments below, keeping history's flame alive. If you love this story, please hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more tales to come. Now, let the wind and starlight lull you into sleep, where ancient dreams forever glow. Good night, and may your rest be peaceful.